Away we go.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. We're so happy to have you part of our 7 a.m. Mastermind. And today's topic that we wanted to bring forward is how to work with the invisible laws. And so I've been able to work with them through my work as a photographer. So we're kind of going to go through a little bit of a story, and then Carolyn was going to share the 7 invisible laws that are always active, even though we can't see them. They are present and they are working. So what we want to do is expand your awareness to know that they are there. So next time you do something or you feel something, you start connecting the dots of what's happening in your physical life versus what's happening inside you. Okay, because it's always a reflection. Everything that is happening in your reality is a reflection of what's going on inside you. So for those of you who are not familiar with my vision work, what I do is I don't photograph people for who they are. I photograph people for who they want to become. And how does that switch the game for you, for everyone? The way that it switches the game is because most people, we're stuck in our past. We're stuck in how we see ourselves. And so we have an image. We have what's called a self-image. And that self-image is one that we see ourselves when we look at ourselves in the mirror, like the way you guys are seeing, maybe we're seeing each other right now. And then the one that controls your life is not the one that you see. It's actually the one that's in your mind. And we operate, every action that we do is within that self-image. So that self-image that could be in your mind could be one that I feel unworthy, I feel unloved, I'm not good enough, all the things that you might have picked up over the years. That's the image that is controlling your life. And most people don't know it because you can't see it. So sometimes you wonder, why am I not doing well in relationships? Or why am I not doing well financially? Or why am I not doing well in certain areas? Like, I want to grow, but I'm not growing. So what is happening? What's happening is that the self-image that you have in your mind is not a match to who you want to become. So through my work, what I did, I can use Carolyn because most of you know her, so I thought that she would be a great example. When she came a year ago to have her vision portrait taken with me, what she called me and she said, I'm ready to grow, I'm ready to go into my higher level. I want to work, I want to rebrand my whole identity. I want to go more high end. I want to, I want to attract more affluence. I want, this was what she was vibrating now. So in order to do that, what I did is I guided Carolyn through certain steps to take on how we can transform how she looked then to how she can become a match to who she wants to become. So this new affluent Carolyn, this new Carolyn that's traveling, this new Carolyn that's doing speaking engagements, that's that her company is growing. She saw gold, she saw like things in gold. She started seeing like a richer version of herself. And so what we did, we went even from her curly hair to straight hair to changing the way that she dresses, by molding other people that she really loved in the industry that had the kind of success that she wanted. And what happened was that new image that we did of Carolyn replaced that old image, that old down to earth, it's okay, free flowing. That's who she was before. And now we replaced it with this new one that's more of a, has a lifestyle international brand, and that started the whole journey. And within a year, most of you watched Carolyn grow into her new self-image. She's been able to develop her whole self and personality according to it. So what it did, that new image became so strong that it replaced the old one that she had. And so Carolyn's going to go through the process with the invisible laws, but this is what happens. So as long as we stay stuck, as long as we don't replace that old image that we have, we are always going to stay true to it, and we are always going to come back to it. So we might see a little bit of success, but if we're feeling unworthy, we'll always lose the success. We'll self-sabotage it. And we don't know what we're doing.
I just want to interject here for a second, because I think it's important that there's a process that you use that I found to be, really, really powerful. So we go back to that vision session. One of the tools that Pazit uses is that she asks you to, ask yourself, who is it you admire? Who is it whose success do you see yourself successful like? Whoever that means for you in your industry, in your world. Then she does kind of like some matching with clothing styles and all these kind of things. And then during her session, okay, she's not photographing you as you are today. So you show up wearing different clothes. She has a stylist there. You do your hair the way you imagine yourself to be. Okay, this is all within this time frame of a few hours that you work together. But during the course of the photo session, it's different than somebody taking your picture as if of who you are today. You go and have your headshot done or pictures done by a photographer. They're taking a picture of who you are, who you show up as today. During the session with Pazit, so you're dressed differently, you're thinking differently, but what she does is she asks you now to put yourself in the future. So when you're sitting there and she's about to shoot your image, she's talking to you. So you've had a conversation with her. So she's basically talking to you as if you're the person a year from now. So, and we can all do this ourselves, okay? That's acting as if, thinking as if, putting ourselves in the position of being the person right now that we want to become. So in the practical of her session, she will then have a conversation and know some of the things that you aspire to and ask you those questions, which is what each of us can do every day. So she would say to me, so how does it feel now that you're traveling for your business? I hear your business is all over the world. I hear you have offices in the South. I hear you're doing this. I hear you doing that. So we're actually feeling what it feels like to have that wish fulfilled. We're already in the energy and the spirit of what it feels to be there. And one of the interesting things that she and I talked about that came out of that session was she was asking me if I was still living in the same place. And because we were already in my future self, I told her, oh no, I'm living in the city and I have a condo on the water in Montreal and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I didn't even know that I wanted some of the things that we talked about. So they became my new anchor. And some of the things that we talked about in that session that hadn't happened yet, that I didn't even know I wanted, have now happened. So this is how powerful acting as if is, and putting yourself in the spirit of what it feels like to be the person that you want to be, because that gets you closer to your goal and it moves your goal closer to you.
Exactly. What's really fun is that you start operating and you become a match, and it's very important to become a match. And that's actually one of the invisible laws. Most of us try to recreate ourselves from the same level that we're at. That never works. You can't recreate you're going to be recreating more of yourself. If you're going from the level where you're at, who you are today, you're going to be recreating more of that for the next years to come. I mean, I also tell people, don't go see a fortune teller. I'll tell you, I can tell you your future. So the whole idea is really to be able to act from the person that you are then. Exactly like Carolyn said, I was like, where do you live now that you're making so much money? Did you just fly into my studio? She's like, yeah, I just have a few hours. We were just playing it out a little bit like make-believe when we're children,
It was
but it was so intense.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was intense. I'm like, so who interviewed you? Where did you go? She's like, I'm in London. I'm here and there. And Carolyn was 100% into it. And all the answers, what's beautiful is that every time I do the session, the answers come through the person so naturally, like they know their own future. They really do. And what's really fun is that we get to watch the unfolding, and I get to watch Carolyn, how she becomes a match to her photograph as well. So the whole process, we can see it, but there are invisible laws working. So let's bring it back to the invisible laws that we're working with the new image. So the first step, if you want to recreate a higher version of you, is to get aligned with an image of you. What would you look like, dressed like, model that person. You can't look like the same person. Like if I'm going from artist to this like a consultant, or like I'm mixing with the jet setters and whatever, I noticed that a lot of them are blonde. That's why I went blonde. I start matching myself to my new persona, a little bit like actors and actresses. Okay. Yep. Actors and actresses match themselves to the part. So when we see them on screen, we're like, we buy into that image. And that's the same thing that we have to do. So you can't look like your old self and want a new self. It's just not going to work, right? And Albert Einstein said that in order to create a new reality, you must match yourself to the frequency. Frequency meaning the next person you're going to become. So
And I think that is,
that's how you create it.
I think we tend to kind of shy away from doing that kind of thing because it seems too childlike and playful. It seems like, oh, what am I going to do? Just make believe, imagine myself, and it's just going to be like magic, and it's actually true.
That's
It actually does, because when you start doing that and seeing yourself and acting as if, and I offer this to clients all the time, to write an as if life script. So you imagine yourself already having everything that you want in the present tense, though, not in the future tense. And what happened in my case is not only did I rebrand the image of what I saw myself as, but then it expanded out. Then all of a sudden, I changed my logo. Then all of a sudden, I started operating my business in a completely different way, right? So it starts with our self-image, but then everything else starts to show up to match it. So I think Pazit and I wanted to cover one specific law, which is basically what we're talking about, but I thought it would be helpful if I listed the basic 7 major laws. Now there are a lot of them, and we won't go into all of them, but the basic 7 that I operate with, that you might probably recognize some of them already. They're invisible because they're not man-made laws. They're laws that are out there that are governing our life, but because we're not aware of them and we don't have evidence of them, like the law of gravity, for example, everyone's heard of that. And we know because we have evidence that the law of gravity works, right? Because we can see it and it's tangible. But all these other laws, they're not so tangible. But once you become aware of them and know what they mean, all of a sudden you'll start understanding how you can live your life in harmony with them. And then those images of yourself, you'll start understanding how you can deliberately create whatever you want in the circumstance of your life. So I'm just going to run through them quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. The first one is called the law of perpetual transmutation. I have a list. I carry it in my agenda all the time because I'm always going back to them. So the law of perpetual transmutation of energy means that energy is always moving into form, right? And whatever you imagine in your mind will manifest itself into results in your life. So it starts with your vision and how you want to see yourself, okay? The law of relativity, people understand that law, okay? Nothing is good or bad. It only becomes what we identify it as when we start comparing it to something else. So basically everything just is. But we're the ones who make it something else, okay?
Yeah, like maybe we can give an example. Like say for example, like $1 million is neither big nor small. It's what you make it to be.
Yeah.
Nothing is good or bad. It's you who decides.
And that's what we do when we compare ourselves to other people.
Right.
Right? So our self-image gets damaged because we compare our success with the success of somebody else there's no need to compare yourself with anybody. You are you. And until the moment you start comparing yourself with somebody else, that's when you shoot your self-image off in a different direction.
Right.
And typically we think, we think in pictures, but when we imagine ourselves, often our self-image puts ourselves in a negative comparison with somebody else, which sabotages our success. We don't naturally as humans think in positive ways. We're trained to think in ways that don't serve us. So it's a new habit to think of ourselves in ways that are super positive, right? The next law is the law of, people have heard of the law of attraction for sure. The Secret made that really kind of mainstream. But what people don't realize is the law of attraction is not a main law. The law of vibration is the main law, and the law of attraction is secondary. So what Pazit was saying before, when you have to get yourself into a vibrational match, in harmony, aligned with who you picture yourself to be, it's vital for you to attract all the things around you that are cooperating with that. If you're not in harmony or in vibration with that, the law of attraction doesn't work. It just doesn't. Right? So the law of vibration is the main law, and the law of attraction works in tandem with it, but you have to be aligned first. We can talk a little bit more about what that means after.
Right.
The law of polarity, or the law of opposites, right? Everything has an opposite. You know, where there's a right, there's a left, where there's an up, there's a down. Those are the law of opposites. So what you want to spend your time doing is focusing on all the positives, because you can also focus on the negatives. There's a polarity to positive. So you got to decide what direction you want to take your thinking.
It's always a choice. It's always a choice.
Always. Okay. The law of rhythm, which is like action, reaction. So, you know, night follows day, like the tide goes in, the tide goes out. This is the law of rhythm. Everything is temporary, right? Every time you're feeling maybe that you're a little uncomfortable, and this is where, you know, when we want to grow, we tend to feel uncomfortable for a while, but the law of rhythm tells us that that's only temporary. You don't have to, you can count on, because it's a law, right? And because they're not man-made laws, we can't change them. They're laws. They're invisible, so we don't see them. But when you feel a dip, know that it's going to swing back in the other direction. Okay, so that's the law. That's the law of rhythm, action, reaction. And then there's the law of cause and effect. People have heard of that before. Ralph Waldo Emerson calls that the law of laws, the most powerful law. Whatever you send out comes back, right? That's the law of the universe, okay? It's action, you know, reaction, and everything is equal and opposite. So when you give, that will come back to you in some way or form, not necessarily from directly aligned with the giving that you give, but it'll come back. So the law of cause and effect. And the law of gender, I like this one a lot. The law of gender, or the law of gestation, or the law of creation, but it's called the law of gender. And that means that the seeds that you plant in your mind will germinate. In other words, when you plant a seed in a garden and you want to grow a vegetable, okay, when you water it and you love it and you put sunshine on it and you nurture it, you know that a plant is going to grow. The thing is, you don't necessarily know the time frame. Like, we know a baby takes a certain amount of time, right? From you know, the original seed to birth. We know by law how long that takes, but we don't know the time frame, and we're not in charge of the time frame, other than the fact that if we're aligned and we keep ourselves in vibrational frequency with all the things that we want, then we move that process faster. But we still don't know exactly when that's going to be. So how does that apply to you? It means that when you have an idea, when you desire something to show up, to be present in your life, know that there's a time frame for it, and it will happen, and you need to keep steady on believing in it. Okay, so believing in your idea, and most people, they stop just short of its success. So the law of gender teaches it that every idea will come and it will show up in your physical life, but you need to always keep yourself in alignment with it, and it will show up. It's law. So that's just like,
sorry, I was just going to say, yeah. So there is a creative process to creating anything that you want in life. And that creative process is very real. Everybody's been creating, even, you know, God, whether you believe it or not, he thought of a world, and then the world came into, you know, into the world. Then he thought of light. He said, let there be light. And then light came through. So all these things are thoughts. Everything that we create in our world starts with a thought. And now we do think in pictures. So the next thing after the thought is the image. Our job, our work as creators is to hold the image of what we want. So if there's an image of yourself, something that you're trying to create in your life, okay, like say, we'll go back to Carolyn's example. She wanted to create more wealth, more, you know, like a higher version of who she is. And so the most important thing was, first, she had the thought. The second thing is we translated into a photo of Carolyn being at her higher self so she can see it. Okay, you can do visualizations, but the thing is with visualization, I find, is that we're so distracted today. So it's very easy to forget, you know, what we want to create. It's very, very easy. Now, Carolyn, what she had with the photograph, we made it tangible. That photograph, now you have to hold it. You have to look at it. So what Carolyn did is she used that photograph on all her profiles, all her social media profiles. Why? Every day she's on it. So every day she would see that photo, it would remind her of who she's becoming. So this is the job. The job is to hold the photo. When you look at your environment, you have to, I don't want to say ignore, but almost ignore your environment, because sometimes your environment is not congruent with who you're becoming yet. As you're growing into it, you're not there yet.
Well, it's congruent with who you were, because your environment reflects who you are inside. So, you know, if you ever want to know how you're doing, you look at your results, you look at your environment, and you say, well, I created this based on the way I was thinking then. So if you want to improve the circumstances and all of the results in your life, then you have to start thinking differently. You have to start thinking about yourself as if you're already that person. And that's when this word coincidence starts showing up, right? Right. People say, what a coincidence. This happened and that happened. You're actually in charge of all of it. Exactly. You're actually doing all of it with the way you think, which changes the way you feel, which changes the way you behave, which changes your results. So it all starts with the image that you create in your mind of whatever it is you want.
So that's it. And the other thing, like Carolyn mentioned, is so after we had you hold on to the image, it's you have to have the feelings that go with it. So if Carolyn is at her higher self, and say before she would not go to certain places, she would not wear certain things, now she does. Now she does, because a person, her higher self, goes to new places. She goes to, you know, to like say, for example, she goes on more expensive trips. She rented a Mercedes. She started doing things that are aligned with her higher vision. Okay.
I also started doing things that were very uncomfortable, by the way.
Right.
I started flying places alone. Now, you know, I don't talk about the things that make me uncomfortable, because I don't focus my attention on them, because I don't tell myself they're uncomfortable. But if I were to be honest here, I'm not somebody who adores flying.
Right, but now she's an international, Carolyn's become an international brand. So as an international brand, she's a woman who travels a lot for, you know, for business. And so traveling, you know, she became somebody who travels. She became somebody, you know, who does these things now. So now she was operating from her higher self, not that old Carolyn, the one who doesn't travel, the one who, you know, who wears her hair curly and is more of like, you know, a free soul, you know. She was transformed. First she had the transformation, and now she was aligning her actions, her feelings. Every day she felt like, I'm Carolyn International, you know. What does Carolyn International do? She travels, she eats at these types of restaurants, she has these types of friends, and everything she started to shape it, right?
So if you see an extension of where you want to go, sometimes what happens as we don't fulfill the vision because we let fear get in the way. So for example, I know that I have an office that is going to create itself in London. So I needed to go. Now I happen to have a son who lives there, but I had never traveled there alone. Right. So I knew that, okay, that could hold me back if I allow it to. So there were some things that I knew I would need if I was going to operate a business around the world the way I imagined it to be. I knew there were some things I would have to change and I would have to get past. And I think that gets in most people's way. They say, well, I'd like to do that, but that means I have to do this. I don't want to do that. You get to choose.
Well, that's what being congruent is. You have to become congruent with that new image. So whatever it is you decide for yourself, this is just Carolyn's vision, but each one of you have your own vision of something that you want to achieve. So the most important thing is just to use the same process, but make it work for you. And then you work from that, you know, that new image of yourself every single day. You don't miss a day. It's like going to the gym. Becoming a creator is just like becoming anything in life. You got to do it every day. You want to become a writer, a great writer, you got to write. You want to become a great photographer, you got to take pictures. You want to become a great doctor, you got to practice every day. Becoming a creator is a way of life, and you just have to do it every single day.
So it starts by imagining what it is. You don't have to know how you're going to get there. That's not your work. You just want to know where you're going. So identify for yourself what it is that you really, really want. Where do you want to go? How do you see yourself? You know, imagine yourself like athletes do when they imagine themselves on the podium, right? They're going to go into training, excuse me, practice for years. What gets them there is imagining what it feels like to be standing on that podium. And that's the image they hold in their mind of themselves, you know, constantly feeling what it feels like to be on that podium, That's what gets them up at 3 o'clock in the morning to train. That's what keeps them going. It's not some thought. It's an image they've created of how it feels to have the wish fulfilled. And so that's what will keep you going. So first you have to decide what you want, how you see yourself, what that image is. And I think, Pazit, you encourage your clients that you coach through this process to actually take a picture of themselves as if they're the person they want to be.
Absolutely. Transform yourself because you want, you know, because we live in a physical world, seeing is believing for most people. That's how we were trained until you get really good at it and you could just do it in your mind. You know, but I still do it in pictures. Everything I want, I do it in pictures. Why? Because there's also an emotional attachment. When you have like, the thing that makes it happen is the emotion. The emotion starts the wheel of what you want, of what you seek, and what you want to bring it closer together to become like a perfect match. So when you see yourself as that person, there's an emotional attachment. And that emotional attachment then brings all the things, like I said, you don't even have to go looking for it. Example, I was looking for a videographer in Miami. I don't know like too many people yet. I was asking everybody I know, like, you know, from my little inner circle. Couldn't find it. Anyways, my daughter and I, we go out, we come back to the building that we're at. There's a girl singing in the lobby. So she, you know, she's like 20 years old, she's singing. And, you know, my daughter starts dancing and they start talking. In 2 minutes, I'm like, hey, oh my God, you're so cool. What do you do? She goes like, I'm a videographer. Bam, right there. And I was like thinking all week, I need a videographer. You know, I was imagining somebody with a certain style. She goes, here's my website, go see my stuff. I go see her stuff. It's exactly the kind of like style that I like. You know, you want to call it a coincidence, great, but it's not a coincidence. When you start doing it, you start being so good at it, you're like, okay, let me try different things. So you start playing with this whole idea of creating what you want, bringing little things, you know, from coffee cups to money. I've done it all, you know, even people. Even Grant Cardone. I wanted to meet Grant Cardone. I was imagining myself, and I met him at Starbucks like 4 times, 4 times in Miami, you know. Just happened to be at the right place, right time. I want you to understand there's more than one Starbucks in Florida, okay? There's so many of them, but I happen to be positioned with the one that he's coming to. And that's how you do it, and you start realizing the power that you have. Even the other day, my friend and I were just talking about opening up, like doing something like with Airbnb. Yesterday he was at a show, sat at a bar, met a guy who happened to give him a link to this one guy who is the king of Airbnbs on how to set it up. Okay, all this happened within 3 days. And he was freaking out. He's calling me. He's like, oh my God, I'm manifesting. I'm manifesting instantly, you know? And that's what happens. The more you do it, the better you become at it. And the better you become at it, the life becomes so much fun and so much magical. So do start with the image, do start with the idea, and then know that it's something that you really want to do. Your heart, everything is into it, and all the pieces, all the components will come together. And the most important thing is when the components come together, act on it. I got the girl's phone number right away for the video. I'm like, you know, I got out of the elevator, I got off the floor with her. I'm like, what's your phone number? Give me this, you know, act on it. Don't be like, oh, you're a videographer. Oh, so nice to meet you. Great. Bye. No. You're like, you know, yeah, you know this is what you're looking for.
Yeah, when it's showing up. You have to be
That's
aware.
it. You're aware that it's showing up. You're aware that you called it forth, and you do what you need to do to put it into motion.
I
And
just want to read a few lines from Working with the Law, which is by Raymond Hollywell. It was written in the 1960s. It's just one small paragraph. It says, every idea and mental picture must produce after its own kind, whether the picture is good or bad. So be aware that you can just as easily call forth circumstances you don't want by creating an image of fear and anxiety and all the things that could go wrong, which never will. But you've created the image in your head and you wonder, why is everything just not working out for me? You've called that forth too. So what you want to do is get in alignment with what you want, focus on what you want, always be aware that the law of vibration and matching with what you want will bring forth what you want. But you can't focus on what you don't want, because that'll bring forth too. Okay?
yeah,
So
you just brought something else up.
the law determines. So, yeah, the law does not question or challenge the kind of picture we give to it. It only knows that it must take what is offered or planted and then proceed to materialize it into visible form. So these invisible laws are all working together, and they're for your best self. They're for your best creative. I mean, Bob Proctor says it all the time, and I always hear it, but it's so true. He says, we're God's highest form of creation. Okay? We're here to grow and to be better versions of ourselves all the time. The status quo is just your decision to play it small. Every one of you has a real reason to be the best version of yourself, because that's the plan. Okay? Deciding what that is and feeling what that feels like, that will perpetuate your motion toward it. So, Pazit does it with film, but we can all do it with the image in our mind. And if you can take a picture of yourself in that, in the visual of that, or write down what I call an as if life script, and I can send everybody a copy of that after the call. But the as if life script describes every day, and write it every day, imagining what your life feels like now that what you want is here in the present tense. That's how the law of vibration connects with the law of attraction. That's the most powerful part, is being in alignment and feeling what that feels like. Okay? Feeling is the secret. That's a book written by Neville Goddard, a very small, powerful little book, but it's all about that, how you feel. And if you're not feeling you're at your highest self, what can you do to get yourself there? You can tap into feelings of gratitude. You can think of moments that you felt really, really grateful to kind of elevate you and bring you back up into alignment. We all know when we feel out of whack, right? That feeling of like, I'm just not at my best self, my best game. Gratitude works. Imagining where you are in where you want to be, and then keeping that vision always in front of you. That's probably the most important thing, right in front of you all the time. That keeps you in that feeling of where you're going. Because sometimes where we're at, the present day, our circumstances, we got hung up on where we are.
Yeah.
Instead of where we want to be.
Yeah, that's so important. That's exactly what I was gonna say, Carolyn. Just to compliment you, and then we can open the floor for people who want to ask questions. Is exactly that. When feelings come into your head, when I call them the weeds, when the weeds start growing and saying, this is not real, this is so fake, I don't feel real doing this and all that, you hold on. Your job, again, and just remember, the real work that you have to do is to hold on to that image. And that's why, by looking at who you can become, it always reminds you. So when all these feelings of fear, anxiety, like, it's not possible that I have this much power. Yes, you do. You do have it. So the fastest thing you want to do is always like change your vibration. You don't want to feel bad or not feel good, because that's going to bring more of like, not feeling good. You feel like you're struggling, so more struggle. So the best way to do it is, like she said, gratitude. I always say, go back to your picture. Remember who you're becoming. Remember your dream. And once you remember your dream, you get fired up again. You get fired up again. and then you keep going, you know?
And it's also important to surround yourself with people who are like-minded. That's why Pazit and I talk every day.
Yeah, to remind you who you are. We forget. We need somebody to remind how amazing we are, how good we are, how our idea is going to skyrocket, is going to change the world. The most important things is the study and the support. They've showed it in anybody achieving success in life. It's the study. The study of this kind of material is so important because it refreshes your mind. And the support is so important when you're going through it, especially through, you know, when your vision is here and then you're like, all these situations are happening in your life. And now you, instead of feeding your vision, you're feeding the problems, the struggles, the lack, you know, you start feeding that instead of feeding the vision. So the support says, hey, you're going the wrong way, girl. Get back on track. Your vision is this way. You're following this way. Don't do that. You keep doing that. Let's go this way.
Yeah,
so
a lot of the time I have a phrase that I use to remind me if I get in that place and I just go, rear view mirror, you got to look in the windshield. Okay, you got to stop looking in the rearview mirror, because what we do is we sabotage ourselves constantly, and there's a whole bunch of, you know, belief systems that are attached to that. That's for another call. Yeah. But the fact is, if you only remember one thing, is focus on what you want. Imagine what it feels like to already have achieved it. What you feel inside as the person that you want, you envision yourself, you aspire to be. In my line of work, it's how does it feel now that you're a published author? Like, what does that actually feel like for you? And how has that changed your world? How has your business grown? How do you feel now that your name is on the front of a book and it's actually like people are coming into a book signing and asking you to sign the book? What does that feel like? I mean, if you can hang on to that feeling, you'll actually be motivated and inspired to go and sit and write the book. So that's where vision is so important, and not of your future self. Turn it around. Of your self now. You're already there.
Your higher self.
Your higher self. I mean, it's in you already, but you know, when you want to grow in any direction, it takes practice. So you have to practice what it feels like to be the person that you're aspiring to be. And when you do that consistently every day, like Pazit said, you know, you've got to do it every day. You've got to stay plugged into that feeling every day. And then one day you're sitting at the book signing. One day you're on a plane to London. One day you're doing exactly what you said. Oh my gosh, I'm here.
Yeah. You don't even realize it. That's so funny, because you've been playing the part for so long. When it happens, you don't even realize it. You just don't, you know, because you're like, it's so natural for you. It's like, I've been doing it for so long, you know?
Pazit and I call it magical.
Right. When I get to Miami, I'm like, I'm going to hang out with all like the top like celebrity entrepreneurs in Miami. I've only been here for a few months. I met so many of them, and I'm like with them. And sometimes I'm like, that's so funny, you know? Like, I didn't realize until, like, you know, I take a picture with one of them and I'm like, oh my God.
You're
like,
doing,
doing it. Yeah. Yeah. Because you've been doing it for so long. So let's open the floor for any questions. If any of you are trying to manifest something and, you know, you have questions that you're having like a hard time, if you need some advice or anything you want to talk about, something you want to create.
Go ahead, Wanda.
Okay, well, thank you. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to both of you. I know I keep saying it every time I see you guys, but what I have to be very clear is that everything you guys are saying, you guys are first and foremost, you're very blessed to have each other to help your support to your success. Not everybody has that. Myself, I speak for myself. I have just my own self. I mean, I have you guys any given time through our calls and so forth, but every morning, and I've been doing this since, which I'd never even realized, since 2011. Because when you guys were mentioning through all the calls and the practices, you know, write it all down, remember. So I started to reflect. And I didn't realize that every morning since about 2011, I would get up around 6 in the morning and just zone into my imaginary me, where I want to be, what I want to do, but since 2011, and everything I've ever wanted in my life. That's why people that are very envious will say, my God, you always get what you want. What Wanda wants, Wanda gets. And you know what? I forgot about that. When I was a little girl, I'll have to share this with you. My grandfather, God bless him, he passed away. He owned a big house out in Vermont. And he would record me like as if I was in the movies. And I have them. And I just forgot all about those little years. I'm talking when I was 7, 8, 9. And I would just act out as if I was an actress, as if I'm in the movies. Now, Carolyn, you're here with me. I told you on a text that I met with a friend of mine, which I did not know, that I've known her for over 5 years. Didn't even know she worked in Hollywood. She calls me up on Friday. Let's go for a brunch. Sure. Started chit-chatting. She goes, okay, so when is that book out? I'm like, well, I have one more chapter left. She goes, well, hurry it up because I got my connections waiting. I have been visualizing me meeting Oprah on the Ellen Show, on just way past. I even got an Oscar for crying out loud. I see it. Well, Friday night, not only did I meet up with my girlfriend from Hollywood, I go out with another bunch of friends because they wanted me to get out of my comfort zone. I didn't even want to get out of bed because I suffer with anxiety and depression, and I'm just slowly getting better by visualizing, thanks to Carolyn, God bless you, and yourself. They called me up on stage. I have a video of me up on stage, and all I saw was me at the Oscars. My movie from the book that I'm writing, that is a New York Times bestseller, that turns into a 6 Oscar winning movie. I saw it. I have it written. It's done. Confirmed. Last night I had another set of friends come over for coffee just to check up. Hey, Wanda, how you doing? Because don't forget, I'm in my own little world. Me only. Nobody around me believes what I believe. They think my energy is just way out of whack, too high. Well, that's okay. That's your opinion. So I stay alone and I continue with both of you with your meetings, Wednesday nights. Now we're going to continue on Sundays. I call it Soul Sunday now. This is my mastermind. Well, I'm calling it the soul because you guys are feeding my soul for what I believe. She tells me, I read this book and Wanda, I couldn't even put it down. I went to bed Thursday night at 1:30 in the morning, and she described everything how I'm writing. And I'm like, that is the universe confirming that that book that my girlfriend read, that is going to be my book, that people won't be able to make it, won't be able to put it down. It was, did you get what I'm trying to say? I know you guys get it. I know both of you get it. Oh, but Carolyn, she called me out of like she came in from Hollywood. She was just taking a break, and she says, Wanda, we want to go for brunch. And then I told her what I was doing and and she's like, oh my gosh, because you know my story. Instead of manifesting and worrying and fear about what, oh my God, this may happen, that may happen. I'm like, no, it's done. It's over. I'm free. And you know what? We all deserve our dreams to come true. We're here for a purpose, but not everyone gets it. How is it that I was 6, 7, 8 years old and my Grandpa Peel, okay, videotaping me as if I'm in the movies about a story. I have the DVD.
Yeah, you always know. You have to remember that the only thing
didn't know. He knew before me, and he's passed on.
No.
Do you get what I'm trying to?
Right, but Wanda, what I'm trying to say is that he knew what he was doing. He was aware of the loss.
Yes.
He was aware of the creation
Amen.
loss. And so he was passing them on to you. But what's really beautiful is that now you're coming into the awareness of everything, and you realize that things come into you. And the only thing that really kills the dreams is when we let fear and doubt, when we start doubting this
I refuse to even think that. I kid you not.
Right. You cannot let the doubt. But you have the power to create. You are a creator.
Amen. Well, I'm going to share this last thing. Also, my fridge broke in October. So I go to one of the biggest, I think it was the Brick, or I forget where anyway, one of those big furniture stores. I'm with my husband. Now, Carolyn knows a copy of this because she has my vision board. And she's the only one. I said, please don't share yet. Only when I succeeded to the top, when I'm at the Oscars. Mm-hmm. So I turn around and I see this statue, literally a statue of an Oscar. And I said to my husband, I go, well, look at that. There's my Oscar. He goes, oh, Wanda, there you go again. Because he's the type of guy, he has to see with his eyes. Me, I see within my spirit, like my soul. I see it like way in advance that I have it now, like you've been teaching me. which I always knew since I was a little girl, but couldn't put the dots because I didn't have anyone who believed like I believe until I met you guys. Because I remember when we did our photos, we had deep conversations, you and I, Pazit, sorry, with my kids while we're taking photos. I mean, we could have talked all day. So I forgot about that statue. 2 months later, December 2018, a day before my grandmother's birthday, she passed away 3 years. I said, Mama, let's have fun. If that Oscar is still at that store, and now I'm going to win an Oscar, that my book is going to be New York Times bestseller, turn into an Oscar, then show me. So I go to the store. I couldn't find it. I had like all the 5 people helping me look up and down the aisle. They couldn't find it. I said, okay, so it's not meant to be. And I'm like, shit, there I go thinking negative again. So I go, okay, God, because I have a lot of faith in my higher power, God. I said, if it's meant for me, show me right now. And thank you. A whisper said, on the left, turn your head to the left. As I turned to the left, there it was. I saw the tip of the head. I dashed. I had a line from paying my bill, moving people out of the way, grabbing I call it my Oscar. I have it. I showed it to Carolyn. I even sent it to her. I go, and I'm practicing as if I won. I go, I want to thank God for my dreams to come true and keeping my word, my family, the Universal Studio. I'm going on in front of everybody in the store. They're looking at me like, is this woman Mastermind? I didn't give a shit. I said, I'm doing it, confirmed it.
Yeah.
And what I want to suggest, one suggestion I'd like to give you, wear the dress that you would wear to the Oscars.
I already have it, and I did.
Okay, and you hold your Oscar, and you're holding your Oscar, right? And take a shot of you, your winning shot.
Well, that happened on Friday, this Friday, where I was up on stage. I didn't see anybody. I just saw the bright lights in my eyes.
Right.
And I had the video. My girlfriend took the video.
Yeah. I'm saying capture that image of you in your dress, the way you would look on the red carpet, with having won the Oscar, with your Oscar, the way you would hold it. Capture that image of you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm receiving what you're talking. I'm receiving. Okay. So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I can talk all day, but thank you. I'll let somebody else take the floor now.
Yeah, please.
Have any questions, anything they want to share, any experiences anywhere they want to be that they are wondering, how's the best way for me to get there? Hey, Maria.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much. Wanda, you're like the cutest ever. I can't even with you. I'm like laughing all the time. You're the cutest. And thank you so much, Carolyn and Pazit, of course. I have a quick question, if I may.
Yeah.
All these crazy things Pazit knows has been happening to me since I made a decision. I made a decision this week that I was going to work with her, and I love her to pieces and all these things. And all of a sudden I got horrifically sick. All these things were happening, and I was laughing. I was like, Paradigm, get out of my way. Like, I don't care what you're doing, right? But here's a question for you. My husband, he's an incredible social worker. He's a hardworking man. He works for the homeless, but he's very much, facts, right? He believes I live in La La Land. So my question to you is, I am starting to surround myself and choosing to work with incredible, astonishing people like Pazit, right? And like you, incredible women that are here. But this is a daily, like, tiki, all day long. Like, the refrigerator's this, and this is broken, and this is going on. And last night, he's going through a really, like, horrific thing. There's this woman that's after him at work and, being a social worker. And he's such an honest, humble man. And last night I was like, can you just write every day, the gratitude thing? But my question to you is, when someone is so into their negative spiral vortex of crap, and he is such a loving, kind person. I know I can only control what I am doing. How do you maintain yourself, which I'm doing? I mean, I woke up this morning at 5. Actually, God woke me up because I woke up coughing and I couldn't go back to bed. And I was like, well, thank you. I wanted to wake up at 5 to visualize, and to prepare for this call, but not dying coughing, but thank you. And I was excited to be on this call and to listen to your wisdom. How, besides that, what else do you see that I could do to also maintain that kind of energy in my house? Because I have 3 little girls, and they're like me, and Colin thinks we live in La La Land. So what is the best way when you have such a strong, reality checker person, when you have this dreamer like I am? That's my question.
So, well, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, so I'm going to go back to the laws. Okay, there's the law of cause and effect, right? Whatever you send out comes back. So the first thing, because you're right, absolutely, you're in charge of you. Okay, you can't change somebody else in the way they think. You can model it, right? You can continue to do what you do, but what you want to do is imagine for them their very best, highest self. So just send them love.
I love that.
Right? Just send love, because everything you send out comes back.
Yep.
Right? Not in direct proportion. It sprinkles itself all around. But what you send out, imagine what it feels like for them to feel better, to not have so much anxiety. Just send them love and support and kindness, and that will come back into your life, into their life. It will just, it will embolden how they feel about themselves because you're sending that love their way. Does that make sense?
It does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've started to do that, and I actually did it for the woman who's been hounding him. But I think I should do it with a lot more intention. I like that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. The send love, that's a very good one for both people. And I would say the second thing is definitely support yourself, because it's hard when you're in an environment. Okay, I totally understand where you're at. It's hard when you're in an environment and you see it, but I'm asking you to detach from it. So what you have to do is also just keep your focus on your vision. Again, you're everything that you give your attention to grows. Okay, so if you give your attention to, oh, my husband and his situation, and it's so heavy and it's not good, and then you take it on. That's the energy. Now you're feeding his energy. Mm-hmm. So what I usually do is that anybody goes into this spiral, we snap out of it.
Right.
It's like, girl, okay, yeah, it's true. Things are not going good. Okay, whatever. Okay, let's go take the kids to the park. Go have fun. Change the vibration right away. Change it. Let's go to the park. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a jog. There's a lot of things you can do right away. Don't feed the situation. Don't feed it. Feed what you want.
Yeah, because everything you focus on expands.
For sure. Right. And that was one of the things that I had such a beautiful awakening, is that when I was down in my bed, sick, and I was laughing at the paradigm going, you're not getting me down. One of the things I thought was, wait a minute, you created this. Like something inside of you created Colin going through all of this and you being sick and whatever. So what you're focusing on something that is not what you want. So change a shift. So I love what you have said. That's so true. Just snap out of it, and then also send all the love.
Yeah. Work on your project. Get them on board. You have your whole project.
Yeah.
Work on your do things that you want to feed, that you want to grow, So either you get them on board, or you tell them, you know what, take the kids out. Go take the kids out, It's true, because with the kids, he's going to have fun. Kids are so playful, right? Mm-hmm. And kids have a way of reminding us of the magic. And so the kids are going to play in this. He's going to be outdoors. It's going to hear him. The thing is, don't stay in your head. Don't stay with that issue. So tell them to take the kids out. You keep focusing always on your vision, always on what are we creating? Where am I going? What am I doing? And if he wants to come on board, you can also ask him, listen, I have this idea. I have this idea and I'm working on it. What do you think? Do you have any, suggestions? That's it. And you're not in La La Land, and the not in La La Land comes with the support of this team. Now, a lot of times, even Bob Proctor, before he became Bob Proctor, did not have the support of his family. They were all we all thought he was crazy. I'll tell you, from my own personal experience, my own family wanted to do an intervention. Because they don't understand what is happening is that you're becoming different from them. So your family wants you to be like them. And anytime you're not like them, you're different from them, it sets off an alarm from them, like, what's going on? Something's wrong. She's not with us. She doesn't talk like us. She doesn't sit with us. She doesn't, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Are you on drugs? Are you drinking something? No, you're just coming back to yourself. And you have to remember that you are the one who's choosing to change the legacy for your family. So you've taken on that mission for you, for your family, and for generations to come. So you got to forget everything that they know. Okay, because you know that what they know led them to where they are. And if you know that where they are is not where you're going, you can't follow the crowd anymore.
So
you can't. You're following the wrong crowd. So follow you and stay strong through us, you know, through the member. And just remember,
and we do that too. I mean, we all plug in. Pazit plugs into masterminds. I plug into masterminds. I mean, Valerie's on one with me every single weekday morning at 6 a.m. We're on a call every morning. Do I always feel like I get up at 5? Do I feel like doing that every day? No. Do I want the energy that I know it's going to feed me?
Right.
Yeah. So that means I have to do something that I don't necessarily want to do to get what I want to have and be where I want to be. So that's what I was saying earlier. We have to change some habits. We have to do things differently. So in your case, Maria, when you're saying, you know, what can I do? There's suggestions there that are different maybe than from what you're used to doing. And I know exactly what it feels like to focus on a circumstance that's not serving, thinking for some reason that if I keep talking about it, it's going to right or fix itself, when in fact it's the direct opposite.
it feeds it. Struggle brings more struggle. Yeah.
It feeds it, and everything you focus on expands. So you have to be very careful about what you think about and what you focus your attention on. So you can guarantee one thing by focusing on where you're going, is that if you keep focusing forward in that direction, you will get there. But if you focus on the things that don't serve you and the circumstances that you don't want, by law, you can also guarantee yourself you're going to get more of the same.
Yeah.
So then the thing that you want to always remember is to say, I got to focus on what I want.
Yeah. I just remember that all the 3% of the people that have achieved their goals, everybody told them, like, you're crazy. You know, Albert Einstein, Henry Ford, I mean, you name it. Everybody told them you're crazy, because we have to be a little bit crazy. You know, Steve Jobs even said it. It's the crazy ones that change the world. It is. Because we're not the crazy ones, but they see us, because they're 97% of them. They see us as crazy, and we see them. You don't get it.
And that's why in awareness to the
you don't get it. You just don't get it.
Invisible laws, they're going to happen anyway. They're in the background working. So if you can become a little bit more aware of how they factor into your life and work with them in the flow of them instead of resisting them and working against them, then you're going to move in the direction of the dream that you have for yourself. That's what we were talking about, getting into alignment with it. It's like, you know, we tend to put, you know, round square pegs in round holes. We tend to always think of of what we don't want, the resistance part. But when you focus on the image of where you want to go, you're in the flow of life. So you're allowing things to show up for you.
Feed the vision. Feed the vision, sweetheart. Feed the vision. Don't feed anything else. Just feed the vision. Ask yourself every day, what am I feeding? Am I feeding the fears, the anxiety? Am I feeding the vision? Feed the vision.
I love that.
Can I just tell you one short thing? I know I don't want to interrupt you guys. You're on the right track. What helped me was a vision board. And it really, really did, because I'm a visual person. And it's when you can put from your mind onto paper or in a photo, even if you vision yourself with a celebrity, print out that picture, put your face beside the celebrity. I'm doing it now, and it's coming forth. So yes, I'm so thankful for Carolyn and Pazit, because they know, and and if you feel like your family is out of whack, that's okay. My whole family, everybody, my in-laws, they're already out of whack. But you know what? I stay away, because they don't believe what I believe. They're trying to destroy what I believe, and I don't want that. So I say little to the people that don't believe and speak a lot to those who do believe. And they take that energy, and I feed and I grow, and it's been working. It's working. So,
and you have to remember that the vision, Wanda, it's wonderful what you're saying. You have to remember that the vision that was given to you, the gift, the promise, it's in your heart. Nobody can see it. Nobody can see the gift that was given to you, but you know.
Today I know, but it took me a good 25 years, because I was so consumed with negative people who wanted to destroy me. My marriage almost fell apart. I had to go through therapy. I have 4 kids, a challenge with one of the kids. It was so much coming at me. Every time I received money, something would break, because I would vision that. I would say, oh, well, that's nice. I got $20. So now what's going to break today? And boom, the toaster would break.
So I predicted. So what I did with all of that energy, I said, well, wait a minute. If I were to focus on positive, so if I want to write a book, let's see, and then it came to me. I mean, I would never say that, what I'm trying to say is like many years ago, I used to joke about it, but then I forgot about it because I was so consumed with so much negativity. I couldn't remember what my dream was. So once you remove yourself from there, you start to see what you really want. And I can't thank Carolyn and Pazit. I knew Pazit, just to let you know, Maria, and everybody who's on this call. I was introduced to her by a fluke, by walking into a mall, the same mall that I met someone that introduced me to Carolyn Flower. That mall at Angrion in LaSalle has been a blessing. So
it's all good. It's all good, Wanda. It's all really, really good. You're on the right track.
Right. Well, so before we wrap it up, because it is 8 o'clock and everybody's story, we can go on forever. Does anybody who did not have a chance to talk would like to say something or ask a question?
Nothing from Kim. Natalie is the ever creator who's creating her life in every single moment. I see it all the time.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up. I think we wanted to give them an exercise to do as we wrap this up, this Sunday Mastermind.
Hang on a second. Kim had a question. Go ahead, Kim.
Go ahead.
I'll just unmute you. There you go. Oh, there you go.
Okay. I'm just listening to everything, and I realized there are a couple of moments with exceptional human beings because they come on your path when you need them. And we're in transformation here, and we've got this whole group of people. And yes, so I meet Carolyn, who introduced me to Pazit, who introduced me to. So all of a sudden, we're being thrown, everybody, to help us transform. And everybody around us, when we're transforming, it's not like I'm always on and it's good. The people we love the most get to see the up and the down of the roller coaster that happens. And it's really hard for the people around us, not only because they first love us, and the second thing is that they're not transforming and they're waiting to see, what's going to be like in the next hour or the next, because while we're doing this, we're growing. And the other thing, I remember being with a priest that he's a healer, and he comes to court and said, how dare I ask to be healed? I have nothing wrong, And I did go up for a blessing, but somebody else went up and asked, they were overweight, and they said, and sometimes the answer is so simple. So they go up to get healed from their overweight, and he whispered in her ear, eat less. And it's such a simple little answer. And in a book it said, oh, I'm having problems with my husband, And the answer was, I can't love him. Yeah, just love him. And sometimes the answer is right there, simple. If we're scared with all of you together, and Carolyn, I get the terror barrier that you call, and you'll sort of talk to me and I'll be, yeah, that's all great. This isn't terror. And then it's determining where you are. Is this terror barrier, or is this, or what is this? And while you're trying to decide that, you got your own family you love and you care for, and you're very busy. And we're transforming at rapid, like, what did you say? Take a step to the universe is coming at us. Well, it's happening faster than the people around us can handle us sometimes. So we have to be a little patient for them. Thank you.
Yeah, and be patient for yourself.
100%.
Right? Because sometimes, it does start to move quickly, especially when you've made a decision for where you want to go. We don't think of it in those terms. We just think of it as things just randomly are happening in our world. That's not the way it works by law, right? Everything happens because, right, which is the law of cause and effect. You're responsible for the cause, which is creating the vision of where you want to go and what you want to be. The effect that's going to happen is the things to match that are going to start showing up in your world, and you don't know the time frame that's going to happen. So again, I go back to the laws. That's the law of gender. You don't know how long the seed you plant is going to take to become, visible from the earth. So you have to be patient with yourself, and you have to also be aware that once you make a decision and you set a vision in play, it's going to happen. and things are going to start showing up. So maybe you need to, you know, like you said, you're identifying the fact that you're transforming. That's true. Well, we're always transforming, but sometimes you're in a growth spurt, right? It's like when our kids have growth spurts, and I know my boys especially, there was a painful period for them, physical pain, when they went through a growth spurt. That's sometimes what happens to us spiritually. We're growing and it's uncomfortable, and people see that we're uncomfortable. They feel that discomfort. And the easiest thing for them to think of is, hey, come on back over here where it's easier. When in fact, that's not really where we're going. So you got to kind of go through that path of discomfort and be good to yourself, kind to yourself, practice self-care, do all of those things, knowing that you're going exactly where you're meant to go. And then you got to love the people around you that don't see your vision yet, but they will eventually. They'll see it.
Yeah, the pull to the familiar is so strong.
It's strong. Yeah,
it's very strong. So that's
and not to feel
strong.
Not
and
to
you
feel
see, and other people come. Sorry, and other people come to you, the right people, the right circumstances. As you're going through those things, all of a sudden you notice this mastermind. You got to meet us. Everything leads you to something. You know, there's a reason why each one of you turned on or came this morning or woke up at 7 a.m. on a Sunday. You know, something in you called you here. So also ask yourself why you've been called here. Why have I been called here? Why have I been called to meet these people right now in my life, you know? And that's because of your transformation. Where you're going, it's all these people are starting to show up on your path.
Yeah, it's a support system that, you know, we all need. Right?
Absolutely.
We all need, like Pazit said, the pull to the familiar is so strong. So then an opportunity like a Sunday AM or my 6 a.m.s during the week or what have you, all of a sudden that shows up in your path, and you got to recognize it for what it is. It's an opportunity. You say, I need support to get through this transformation, and boom, here's a way. Here's a way to just get together for an hour on Sundays, prepare your mind for the week, and reaffirm the vision of where you want to be, and know that you are on the right path. Right? If you feel it and you know it, because we know what it feels like to know we're doing what we're meant to do, even though the people around us may not see exactly where we're going, that's okay. They don't have to see it.
It's your gift.
It's your gift. It's your vision.
Only you
know. They can't see it.
They can't see it. Not yet anyways. They can't see it. It's your gift. So we'll close it on that. We'll close it on that. So maybe this week, just, you know, you guys can have fun in terms of thinking of, you know, your next stage, what you look like at your next stage, and, you know, dress up, play the part, you know, be like an actress, you know, and take on that part, be that Oscar, you know, have that picture with you with the Oscar like you would really have it, you know, have that picture of you as that, you know, you're sitting on your desk and you're like the CEO of, you know, your empire that you're creating, Maria, and all of you, whatever your dreams are, see yourself at the end, because it's that image that's going to pull you. When the going gets tough, you're going to look at that image and you're going to say, that's where I'm going. You know, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but I'm going to go to the top of the mountain. I might go a bit slower some days, a bit faster some others, but I'm going. And so always remember that to feed your vision. So have fun, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great week.
Have a really great week, everybody. We'll see you back here next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
And thank you for sharing your morning with us.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for this. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And have a great week, everybody. Go create.
Go create.
Yes. Can't stop the feeling, right, Carolyn?
That's it.
Play the music and put it loud.
Whatever it takes, man. Put the music, change. Snap, 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 snap out of it.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Take care. Bye.
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 Bye.